Hi everyone, welcome back to Cha Cha Draws. So this is something of a special video today, and I'll get to why in just a minute. But before I tell you why, I have to tell you something else first. No matter how much of a hot mess this looks at any point in this video, I want to assure you that it does not end a hot mess. And that's good. Because the reason this is a special project is because I am donating it for a charity art auction. And all the proceeds will go to a cause that's near and dear to my heart. I'm going to link a video, a much shorter video, about the cause and what the funds are going for. So if you are interested in that, or if you just want to own the piece and don't care what the cause is, I'll link the auction in the description, and I'll also link the other video that explains a little bit more what I'm raising funds for. So back to the art. Y'all, this was my first Posca piece, and I did not know what I was doing. I understood nothing about how they're finicky or the best ways to use them, and so, I mean, why not do a major project that I really wanted to turn out well for my very first time using Posca pens, right? I was so distracted by these pens that coming up in just a second, you're going to see that I actually forgot to record a huge segment of painting. But it's okay, you're not missing anything. All you're missing is me filling in large areas with solid colors and struggling so hard with these pens. At first, I'm not gonna lie, I was, boop, there we go. I was not swearing, because I don't generally do that out loud when there's no one else around, but just, I was so frustrated. I couldn't figure out why people loved these. I'd heard so many artists rave about how they loved Posca pens. They were driving me crazy. It took me forever. I finally figured out that one of my major problems was that I wasn't using them like a paintbrush. I was using them like a crayon. With crayons, you scrub back and forth. With paintbrushes, you don't scrub back and forth because you'll push up the paint that you just laid down. Why this was not apparent to me from the get-go, given that they are paint pens, I don't know. But it wasn't. I was really confused. I could not figure out what was going on. And as a result, that first layer that I put down was super streaky. The other thing that I was struggling with, the other massive problem that I was having, was that I was attempting an art style I had never done before. Now, the reason for this is because of the purpose of the charity auction. It is intended for a project in Nicaragua. And if you aren't familiar with Latin American art styles, Nicaragua has an art style that is distinct and unique. In fact, the most distinctive and probably well-known and intricate version of this style is the Solotename style, which is named after a region of islands in Nicaragua. I looked it up, and this kind of general style is referred to as primitivist, which doesn't make any sense to me because it's honestly not primitive at all. What it reminds me of is, in a lot of ways, Cubism, which is weird, especially because, you know, I hated Cubism for a really long time. But the reason that I love this art style is it's shapely. It tends to focus on the perspective of the viewer, much the way that Cubism does, and it tends to draw things in a representative style based on how the viewer sees them, as opposed to a strictly literal and realistic style. So one of the ways in which that's most easily seen is in the color choices that are used in the work. A lot of them are realistic, like blue sky tends to be painted as blue, but within a flower or a plant, an artist will use many colors, which overall do a better job of representing the reality of that plant more than a strictly literal interpretation of it would. I'm probably doing a terrible job explaining, so instead I'm just gonna pop some examples up here on the screen and let you take a look at them. Because Nicaraguan art is beautiful and you should absolutely look at it. So it was right about here in my piece when I looked at it and thought, God, I hate this. My problem was pretty easy to determine. It didn't look like art that I would have done if I was just sitting down to draw a landscape, and it also didn't look anything like Nicaraguan art. I mean, the colors were vibrant, but beyond that, it was not capturing the style that I was going for. I in no way thought I was going to produce anything as beautiful as those 4 paintings that I showed you, but I wanted the style to be recognizable. So I did the smart thing, probably the thing I should have done from the beginning, and I went back and I really studied those pieces. I studied the shapes. I studied the way the colors went on things. And I really looked at the way the pieces played fast and loose with perspective. Things that were far away were still visible. You could still see their shapes. They weren't just dots on a far hillside. And that was what really, I think, got me past the artistic block that I had been in. Instead of drawing a large block of green with flecks of darker green and flecks of yellow in it, I went in and started drawing leaves. Instead of drawing the vague shape of a pine leaf, I actually went in and defined it. And the minute I started doing that, I was more pleased with what I was seeing. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't the most amazing thing ever, but I could tell that I was headed in the right direction. So I put my head down and kept going. At one point, I got so into what I was doing that even though my camera ran out of battery and I had to stop and plug it in. I felt like I couldn't stop. I had to keep going. So, yeah, I didn't forget this time. I just was so in the groove, I had to keep painting. So here it is, my final result. If you like it, please consider going and putting a bid on the charity auction. Thanks for watching. Bye.